Community is more than where you live. It's the people in it.
I help equip Baton Rouge communities with resources that facilitate change.
Who go above and beyond to help it thrive.
I'm educating children in the Bronx on their community history.
During Black History Month, AARP recognizes leaders who uplift communities.
I'm helping the community take their health more seriously.
AARP believes when we unite for the greater good, we thrive together.
Hey folks, welcome back to another brand new episode of The Vinyl Report. I'm your host, Thomas Wendt. As always, such an honor to be here. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today again. We have a fantastic record that we're going to be checking out today. The Two Sides of Slide Hampton on the Charlie Parker record label. And I've got a wonderful guest for us today, a very dear friend of mine, one of the baddest trombonists around, also a very gifted educator, composer, and arranger. Please welcome Mr. Jeff Bush to the Vinyl Report.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much for being here.
Very happy to be here.
Yes, indeed. You are watching The Vinyl Report.
Hi, I'm jazz drummer Thomas Wendt. On behalf of the August Wilson African American Cultural Center, it's my pleasure to present The Vinyl Report. We'll explore the records of some of Pittsburgh's most influential jazz artists of all time. For some, vinyl is now being rediscovered, but for me, it never went away. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Vinyl Report.
So as I said, today we're going to be checking out one of the great trombonists in jazz who happens to be from right outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in Jeannette, PA. His name is Loxley Wellington Hampton, better known as Slide Hampton. He's one of the baddest trombonists in the history of this music, and he's also an incredible composer and arranger. In this album, The Two Sides of Slide Hampton, it was recorded in August 1961 in New York City with an 8-piece group that Slide had been working with for a while. They had made several records, records like Something Sanctified and Sister Salvation, but this one is from August of 1961, and it features a really great 8-piece band. Hobart Dotson and Willie Thomas are the trumpet players, Slide Hampton on trombone, and a young trombonist named Benjamin Jacobs L. also playing trombone. The great George Coleman, who just celebrated his 87th birthday on tenor saxophone. Jay Cameron plays baritone saxophone, and the rhythm section of bassist Eddie Kahn, and one of my favorite drummers, the great Lex Humphreys. So, Jeff, before we get into the music, I wanted to sort of let people know who you are, because you're a trombonist, much like Slide, you also compose and arrange. So, tell everybody how you sort of came to the trombone and to this music.
Okay, well that's going back a little ways. Came to the trombone because I was tall in 5th grade, and the band director said, you can reach out to these positions. I actually wanted to play the trumpet.
Okay.
But I played piano, and my first instrument, I don't say this very publicly very often, was the banjo.
That's okay.
So I used to like to check out Roy Clark on Hee Haw, but that was my early music. But yeah, I got to the trombone in the school music program in 5th grade, but then got to jazz, I guess, because we had a very good school music program, and I played in the stage band, and it was indeed called the stage band back in that day.
Dating yourself.
Dating myself again. But we played a nice arrangement of Shiny Stockings by the great Count Basie. And as soon as I heard that, I got interested, and my grandparents took me to Monroeville Mall, and I got a cassette tape. And as soon as I heard the Count Basie band playing Shiny Stockings, I didn't understand anything that was going on. But I just said, Granddad, can you play that back again? And we just listened to it and then I just got on the train, and you check out lots of different things. So that's really how I came to the music and started into it.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Let's get right to the music, and we're going to start off actually on the second side of this record. So I should mention that The Two Sides of Slide really features, in many ways, kind of two suites. The first side is an original suite of slides called the Cloister Dance Suite, and the second side is a collection of tunes from George Gershwin's seminal opera Porgy and Bess. And we're going to start on side 2, and we're going to hear Slide's really great arrangement of It Ain't Necessarily So. Give this one a listen. All right, hope you guys enjoyed that. Such a great arrangement with that Afro-Cuban 6/8 groove. So, talking about Slide Hampton, when did you first become aware of Slide, and what were the first or some of the first recordings that you heard of his?
Okay. Probably sometime in high school, as I'm discovering jazz trombonists, as I'm interested in that. Right about the time when CDs were coming out, there was it was called the Fabulous Slide Hampton Quartet, which was, I believe, a live date. I have it on vinyl now, but it came out on a CD, and it was called something off Melody. Melody, yeah. And not all the tracks are the same, so
Yes.
I found the vinyl, which I like. So that was the very first Slide Hampton thing I think I had ever had, and tried to check it out. And I didn't have anywhere near the facility the Slide has to deal with it, so a lot of that was going over my head. But that was the very first time I would have heard him. Yeah.
Beautiful. Do you remember the first time you saw him play live? Could you talk about that?
Let me see. Saw him play live. Probably the first time I saw him play live is I got to be a substitute on his World of Trombones band, where he was conducting it, and a substitute for a number of different people. And that's where I actually got to meet the great Manny Powell, and I was sitting right next to him. He was also just a wonderful gentleman. Slide was wonderful and beautiful, but to hear his sound live was quite something. To watch him run the rehearsal and check out his arrangements. I think that was the first time. That's probably 20-ish or more years ago. Something
Wow.
like that. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Could you talk a little bit about that band, World of Trombones? Because we're obviously not featuring that record, but that's a really important and unique band in the music.
It is, and Slide wrote that, let's see, he put that band together in the late 1970s after he lived in Europe for about, I don't know, 8 or 9 years.
I think he moved in 68 or so,
I think so,
69?
and then came back to the States in about 77, I believe at the behest of Dexter Gordon, because he had made that great record, of course, with Dexter in A Day in Copenhagen. Original World Trombones were recorded in 1979, featured some great players like Steve Teray, Clarence Banks is on there.
Janice Robinson.
Janice Robinson is also on there, so wonderful, and it's 8 trombones and rhythm section, and Slide being just a master arranger, composer, wrote for trombones. The trombone had, and Slide would even say this, kind of fallen out of favor in music, maybe in the 60s and 70s, so he's says, okay, we love the trombone, so he comes with that, but he puts all of his wonderful bebop sensibilities in there, and it's really just great music.
Yeah, it's amazing how many colors he gets out of all the trombones.
Absolutely.
You know, it's really it's a total testament to his, writing ability.
Right.
Which is really something.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Well, we're going to get back to the music again. This time we're going to go back to side 1, and I mentioned side 1 is comprised of a suite, an original piece of music that Slide wrote called the Cloister Dance Suite. And this was actually choreographed, and I believe it was performed in New York in the early 1960s. And we're going to hear the first 2 movements of this suite. The first one is called Impression, and the second one right after it is called Obsession. Give these a listen. Hope you guys enjoyed the first half of the Cloister Dance Suite. So let's go back to Slide. We have a lot of different kind of people who watch these episodes. People who are very familiar with this music and people who are brand new to it. So for those who are really brand new, could you sort of place Slide in the larger history of both jazz and the trombone in jazz? Where does he come in and how does he fit into that history?
Sure, I'd be glad to. Well, it's interesting. He has a lot of the history. He comes from his entire family were musicians, and he grew up in a family band.
Right.
He is the youngest of, I believe, either 11 or 12,
Yeah.
born in 1932. But the family band played places like the Apollo Theater and the Savoy Ballroom in New York City. So they gained popularity kind of at the end of the swing era. I guess you could call it that. Or there's early rhythm and blues in there because he also played with Buddy Johnson's band.
Yeah.
So Slide, you can feel the swing era, maybe at the end of the swing era, but absolutely in the heart of bebop because he played with Dizzy Gillespie's band. You hear his bebop sensibilities in there, but you can hear hard bop, post bop. So he has all of those things, but I think at his heart, Slide is a bebop musician for sure. Yeah. And putting that's in the music and in the trombone, I put him right after-ish J.J. Johnson. J.J.'s about 8 years or so older than Slide, and certainly you hear him there, but Slide's also dealing with the music of John Coltrane as well, so he's putting that on the trombone as well. So I put him in the chronology after J.J. Johnson, that era of the trombone.
Yeah. I'm not a trombonist, but to my ear, he almost, in a way, to my ear, he's kind of an extension of JJ in a way.
Absolutely. You can hear certain phrases, certain articulations that are JJ, but Slide's articulation is of his own. Slide's sound is of his own, like the core, the middle part of his sound. You can tell from early Slide even to later Slide, even after he changes his equipment a little bit, it still sounds like Slide. He has a wonderfully identifiable sound. But I would say an extension of J.J. Johnson is a wonderful description.
Interesting. And he was sort of, he was a very, very good horn player from a technical perspective. Could you speak a little on that? Wonderful technician on the trombone. The trombone, it's like sometimes you have to choose, like, boy, if I want to play fast, I have to sacrifice sound, maybe play a little quieter, or maybe I can't do this. Slide played with a wonderful sound, and he didn't have to make those sacrifices, it seemed to me. He could play with his beautiful sound, had wonderful facility, extremely well trained, even though he didn't go to a conservatory, say he received training from his parents. Yeah. Also a little bit of time at the great Crispus Attucks High School in Indianapolis, where J.J. Johnson went to school. Wes Montgomery, James Spalding, had a wonderful school music program. So he had all the facility that he went out and got the training for sure. Yeah, man, that's something else.
Yes.
Let's get back to this record. This time we're going to go back to side 2, and we're going to hear an absolutely beautiful arrangement that Slide did of George Gershwin's I Loves You Porgy, again from the Porgy and Bess opera. And this is going to be somewhat of a feature for the great tenor saxophonist George Coleman. Check this one out. I hope you enjoyed that. That's such a beautiful ballad and such an incredible arrangement that Slide did. So I wanted to, of course, talk about Slide as a writer, as a composer, and as an arranger, because this record really shows off both of those parts of his musical talents.
Absolutely.
Where does he fit for you as a composer and an arranger in this music?
Well, I'd say, if I could say what I think is unique about Slide, and if he was here, I think he'd say this too. Like, when he came up learning about music, he just thought being a writer and arranger was part of the thing. So like when some people will learn to play and then they'll figure out harmony and arranging and all that type of stuff. Slide's dealing with learning how to play and writing all at the same time. He just thought it was part of his deal. You know, that's how music works. So that was always part of him. But as an arranger, I hear parts of Billy Strayhorn in there, because you hear he wants the music to be enjoyable for the musician. It would probably be like Billy Strayhorn, where he'd ask you, "Did you enjoy your part?" Because there's you can hear that certainly coming out of there. But on "I Love You, Porgy," you can hear a little bit of Gil Evans flavor in there. And absolutely on "It Ain't Necessarily So," you could hear some of the things that he's learned, what he heard in Dizzy Gillespie's band, and Dizzy, of course, being a great arranger as well. But what's unique, I think, about him, he plays and writes in a very similar fashion. He's a master of the resolutions of the harmony and going to interesting places, and it always just catches my ear and kind of makes me wake up like, oh, wow, I wouldn't have thought to go to this place, but he does.
Yeah, and it's funny, getting back to what you were talking about where he fits as a trombonist. I've often thought about him as a writer, playing in Lionel Hampton's band, Buddy Johnson's band, Maynard Ferguson's band. And coming from where he came from, there were almost too many influences.
Yeah, sure.
So not being a composer or arranger, I like to talk to people that do that, because he's a very unique.
He has all those flavors in there. You can hear the blues.
Yep.
You can hear the swing era. You hear bebop. You hear. He's also a master orchestrator, which gets like, oh, I'm going to put this instrument here. Being the arranger, maybe you figure out, oh, I'll do this with the rhythm section or this harmony here. But being the orchestrator, it's like you're the painter and you're picking these colors, and he's a master of that. Yeah,
for sure, definitely. Well, we're going to hear the last two movements of the Cloister Suite from side A, which is Expression, and then finally Possession. So check these out. right, so those are the final two movements of the Cloister Dance Suite, an original suite of music by the great Slide Hampton. I certainly hope you guys have enjoyed this music as much as we have. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for asking me.
Yeah, man, offering your great insights into the great Slide Hampton. We unfortunately lost Slide not too long ago, but his legacy lives on in a great and mighty way through people like you, man. You know, out here playing this music and writing and carrying it, man. So thank you for doing
My
it.
pleasure, and that's, you know, it's a true honor to be able to speak on a hero, a master.
I hear you, no question. Well, if you guys enjoyed the two sides of Slide Hampton, I got another one for you. Check out Slide Hampton's Roots on the Crisscross label, recorded over in Holland in 1985. This is a fantastic record, features tunes by Slide and other folks as well. If you like the two sides of Slide, check out Roots. Thank you all so much for joining us on this episode of The Vinyl Report. We look forward to seeing you next time, and as always, stay safe and stay close to the music. See you next time.